Welcome to the Tidewater Diaries. Today we're here in Titusville, Florida at the Hells Bay Boatworks plant. This is one of the most iconic skiff companies in all the world. And I'm going to be interviewing the CEO, Captain Chris Peterson today, one of my best friends. I want you to stick around because I got a big surprise at the end. Well, Chris, I have got a lot of questions for you that I'd love to reveal to our audience.
Well, sometimes you know a lot about me.
So, I haven't been around in a couple of weeks. I see a lot of stuff in the shop going on, and I don't want to give too much away, but one thing I did see in the shop that Dan was telling me about, and then you showed me, was the fact that you guys have the new Captains for Clean Water Professional that is going to make its debut for the Raffle right there at ICAST 2024 in Orlando coming up.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit something about what this particular Raffle boat is going to look like compared to what we've had in the past. This is a nice boat.
So I'll just start off too with ICAST by saying that we will be exhibiting over near the fly fishing pond, but that Captain's boat will actually be in the Yeti booth. So if people want to see it in person, if anybody goes to ICAST,
okay,
it will be available to be seen there, and the Captain's people will be, pitching their message and selling raffle tickets for it. It's done in collaboration with a lot of Captains for Clean Water's partners. Everybody's Yeti and SeaDeck and Orvis, Raymarine, Ramblin' Custom Trailers donated the trailer. So a lot of people have donated. Mercury Racing has, donated the engine. So we've got a lot of donated parts on the boat because the whole industry wants to be involved. Everybody wants to be part of Captains and helping that out.
The Clean Water initiatives, yes.
So it's going to be, along with Orvis, to kind of bring in some of the Orvis stuff. The colors are done in the Helios rod colors. So it's going to be a unique color pattern. When it's all finished, it'll be loaded as part of the raffle. You'll get Orvis rods and reels, the Helios. So
nice.
It's going to look good. It's going to look good, and it's a professional with a center console and a Mercury race. It's got a tunnel in it.
Okay.
So it'll have a Mercury Racing 60 on it.
Nice.
It's going to be a great package for somebody.
Of all the vessels that we have here, all of them have strengths, and I have had a lot of them over the going on 2 decades here. But the Professional really is the most versatile boat for flats fishing. It does everything really, really well. So that's going to be an awesome addition to Captains for their thing. And I can't thank you and Wendy enough for all you guys literally are the benchmark for our fundraising every year, because I'm on the board and I know what we do. And without Hells Bay Boatworks really there for us and really getting that boat out there for us, we'd be a lot more challenged. You guys do great works for us.
Well, we do, and the boat is a great boat. It's a great kind of thing for somebody to, aspire to win on the raffle. But let's be honest, the success of that raffle is everybody who buys tickets. And, and I hear all the time, people, I bought 10 tickets, 50, whatever, but if you're going to give to the cause, you do get a little chance at getting that Hells Bay Professional, which is really exciting. But the true success is the just sheer number of tickets that people buy, and everybody gets so excited. And when we're going to do the drawing later this year, I think it's in January this year.
Yep.
We're going to be so it's going to go from July to January, and in January we'll pull that one winner again, which is always really exciting.
They've already sent me the invite for the big raffle draw, so
Right.
I've already confirmed that I will be there this year.
It's always fun.
So let's talk Chris Peterson.
Oh.
Okay,
Oh.
I want to get
and
into
you've known me,
brand.
like you said,
I
going on 20
know
years.
you all too well. So I knew Chris Peterson before things really got back on track here at Hells Bay. If I'm going to ask you what your early story because you've got an interesting story. I mean, you owned radio stations, and I'll just let you tell the story. I mean, what got you from being where you are now to where you really started here, or started here in Florida? Because I know you're old school Florida Gator guy. Mm-hmm. You are Mr. Florida.
You know, I kind of tell this story. You know, people they want to know your background a little bit, and I grew up in Central Florida. Mm-hmm. Just, we're here in Titusville now, but Central East Coast. But I grew up in Winter Park, Florida, on a chain of lakes, fishing and diving and swimming every single day. I used to have this little square back canoe. It was supposed to have an engine on it, but my parents wouldn't let me. I wasn't old enough because I started going out in the chain of lakes when I was in kindergarten by myself. Now, you do that with a kid today, people from the government are going to come to your door and wonder,
Child services will be there knocking on the door.
But I mean, I was exploring these, the backwaters of, Central Florida from the time I was 6, 7, 8 years old. And I used to talk about my family. They'd be sitting there, and I was always supposed to be home for dinner. That was kind of the deal. Mm-hmm. And I was nebulous, and I never wore, didn't wear a watch back then, so I kind of, it's about dinner time, but I was always late. And I have 2 sisters, my mom and dad, and they'd be sitting at the dinner table, and you could see coming in from the lake, as you're paddling up, they're sitting at the table, and I'm late, and I can kind of see my dad fuming. And I say that I think the look and thought of my mom's mind was, oh, he made it back again.
Yeah.
Oh, the alligators didn't eat them and whatever. Because I would leave at dawn, mm-hmm. and sunset. Something bad could have happened to this little kid at noon or slightly after dawn. But that's just the way we were raised. We just let loose. We didn't have games and pads and all sorts of things. And dogs ran the neighborhood together. You see a loose dog in the neighborhood today, everybody's freaking out. It's kind of like the same thing, like a little kid wandering around. Yeah. Back in the day, we went from neighbor's house and we all went out in little John boats and all through grade school. So. That's how I started my love for fishing and the outdoors. It started there. I went through high school and was an avid hunter and fisherman, and as you know, I was shot point blank with a 12-gauge shotgun when I was 17. So that was kind of a first little bout of
cheating death.
Yeah, I cheated death a few times, and then I ended up at college, University of Florida, and we just I love the Gators, but we hunted and fished around there that mm-hmm. whole time. I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist. That's what I would have loved to have done, and all like my electives in college and things was, freshwater ecology or something along those lines.
You told me you went to that school because it was a party school.
I did. The honest truth is that when I was a senior in high school was the year, and I decided to go to the University of Florida, was the year
I just don't want to give anyone the wrong impression.
We were
of how studious
10-1. I mean, the Gators had never won the SEC.
Yeah,
we were not.
They were terrible.
Yeah. Oh, and us and Vanderbilt were always, going to be last.
Yeah,
the laughing stock of the SEC back in the day. But Gator fans have always been loyal, and we bleed orange and blue. But what I do tell people is my era was the time. That same year that we stunk as a football school, ranked #1 in Playboy magazine as the #1 party school in the nation. So you know where I went, why I went there. That's true, and had a good time. But my family had a business, and I was the only son, and was supposed to take over the business. And while I was in college, and just as I started to graduate, my dad sold it and retired, and so I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'd gone through business school, and so I figured I needed to make money, and I wasn't a trained marine biologist at that point. So I went into I was into a lot of things, some media, like you said, some radio stations and billboards. Morphed out of that and began developing real estate and building houses. I became the youngest president of the Home Builders Association of Mid-Florida.
Wow.
So yeah, I was young 20s. I built a house for charity, kind of started my charity stuff in 24 hours at one point.
Wow.
That was kind of cool. And I didn't love what I was doing. I was doing well at doing it.
Right.
I just didn't love it. And what happened was I ended up I was 42 years old and I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. A good friend of mine got me into a experimental program at MD Anderson in Houston, and they cured me. Today, if you got my cancer, they wouldn't tell you it was terminal. They'd tell you you'd have this round of chemo that will work and get rid of it. It's not going to be any fun, but you'll still be here. And I'm still here 25 years later.
That's right.
So, and so I got through that, but at the same time, I was kind of not so sure I was good. I thought, I've had a few other close calls in my life, but I thought this one was definitely going to be the one that God was going to call me early at that point. And I figured, I'd had a lot of fun up until that point in my life, and I figured when you complete your bucket list early in life, God calls you early. But I didn't know I had a whole nother bucket list that I could get to, So, and this was kind of part of it. So I quit doing what I was doing and kind of was wrapping up and going through chemotherapy. And then when I got over that and kind of got a clean bill of health from MD Anderson out in Houston, they said, you're good to go. You're going to be fine. I started looking for something else to do, and this company, Hells Bay, had fallen into bankruptcy. It had fallen into some hard times, and my wife Wendy and I bought it just on the other side of that wall in the conference room at an auction.
Wow.
And it had been shut down and out of business, not producing, dust settling and equipment clogging up out there for about a year and a half. And we kicked the doors open and started building boats. But I kind of got into this because, I love this product and I love the fishing, and it was a good way to take the love of what I like to do, the outdoors, and do it as my life passion. Also, I love to fish, and I'd say I'm a good fisherman. I'm not a good instructor, and I'd make a horrible guide, so I couldn't go do what you do. So I'm not good at that. So I wouldn't be good at that. Like I said, I love going out there, but wouldn't have been my thing. So here I am, and Wendy and I kicked the doors open. I knew about manufacturing, I knew about business, and to understand what happens here. This is a business. It's a lot of dust, and it's a lot of parts and pieces and manufacturing and managing people. And since we're customer direct, we have a lot of customers, and that's not. I do like having the fact that we know a lot of our customers. Wendy and I, they come in here and buy the boats. We get to be friends with them.
So many of them are multiple boat owners.
Oh yeah, that too.
I meet them at the rendezvous. I meet them at the owners tournaments. I meet them at boat shows. Some of the fishing schools I do, and many of them are a part of my subscription business, FlatsClass University. And you'd be surprised how far-reaching the tentacles are of Hells Bay Boatworks, because the brand has the reputation and the identity of quality and lasting value, where how many people have you heard, and I know you've heard this a lot, have bought a boat, held on to it for 12, 13, 14 years, and found out that the boat is worth more now than it was when they actually purchased it back then.
Yep. Not many assets that you use and enjoy that you can say that
Especially
about.
Boats.
Especially boats.
Boats are break out another 1,000 acronym, and that happens a lot. But but the boats are super well made. And even when I'm with friends, and not everyone's naturally that I'm friends with have Hells Bay boats, but when you see the detail, the craftsmanship, how you guys finish the boats inside and out. There are no rough edges.
We're not even under the gas tank or anywhere.
Nowhere.
Nobody's ever gonna see that, but we know it's there.
Yeah, the rigging is so clean and so tight, and it's like everything is so custom that even when I take my boat to my Yamaha dealer, or I have someone from Raymarine come and see me, and they're looking under there and we're wanting to change something out, and they're like, who put this together? I was like, this is all done in the rigging department at Hells Bay. I've never seen anything like this. It's unbelievable.
And sometimes that's an advantage, because when we're doing rigging harnesses and all, a production boat builder will send the boat to the dealer without a power pole, without the Raymarine, without a lot of those options, and they're installed at the dealer. We install them here as the entire, rigging harness, and those things they're not being put in second thought, and they're being put in at the time the boat's being built.
That's right.
And we're reinforcing things like with some phenolic and stuff in areas where the trolling motor, even if you're not getting a boat with a trolling motor, we put it in there because we know
later on it could be retrofitted.
Right. And a lot of stuff, since we have our own service department here, we build a lot of things in mind of making it easy to service in the future, because a lot of times we're going to be doing it ourselves down the line. Somebody doesn't buy a power pole, the next owner comes in and they'll bring it to us to put the power pole in the way we would do it in the factory. So we've got everything reinforced for that. But to your point about what it looks like underneath, behind everything, we kind of draw some inspiration from Steve Jobs. An Apple computer everywhere inside of it, and they say, well, why are you spending the time, and only computer techs are ever going to see what it looks like under the hard drive or whatever.
Right.
You don't need to spend the money there, but he did.
Yeah.
And of course, those Apple products are, first rate.
We all have them.
And then I also drew inspiration. I've met several times Yvon Chouinard, the founder and owner of Patagonia, and fished with him several times.
Yeah, you guys did Buccaneers and Bones.
We did Buccaneers and Bones together way back several years ago. But one of the things he said, and I heard him, I think it was at Stanford Business School on a podcast actually, somebody asked him, they said, well, you're kind of known as Patagucci. Why don't you make some clothing or something that's not so expensive or branded? And he said, that's not what we do. He says, we look at a garment, and if that garment's meant for, climbing a mountain, we think it has to have, a certain thickness, it has to have a certain number of stitches per inch, for instance. And he said, we purpose build that garment not to be cheap. Somebody could take out half the stitches and it's going to fall apart. He said, we build that, we then figure out what it's going to cost us not using overseas sweatshops, paying a living wage in Indonesia. Something, still built, a lot of stuff's being
built overseas.
done overseas. And then what it costs to get here, put an appropriate profit on it so that Patagonia can survive. He says, that's how we price our product. We don't go, oh, we need to get this half the price and sell it at a discount store or at a big box store. That's not, he says, that's not who we are.
Yeah, quality is premium.
And the same thing I would say translates to the boats. We look at those boats and say, how is this going to make this boat withstand the test of time and the beatings we know boats take? And still 20 years later, so many people ask me sometimes, how long is a boat going to be good for? I'm saying, we haven't figured it out yet, because the very first boats that were ever built here are still coming back, and they, like anything else, the carpet on the sides or something, we can go do a little refurb on it, but the bones of the boat are still solid after several decades.
I was out fishing in Texas, and wind speeds were 30, 35 miles an hour, and we're in a waterman, and we're running, and this was purchased by William Townsend. Him and his brother each got one, and he told me, he goes like this, he goes, listen, the bones of this boat are so solid, and we abuse these boats in this wind out here every day doing what we do. He goes, the reason I bought an older boat was to know that it's already seen it all and it's going to last. He goes, and to me, he goes, it's an invaluable tool. I could go buy a brand new boat. He goes, I have the money to buy a brand new boat, but if I do, I'll be replacing it. This one I'm never going to replace. I don't have to.
Well, we don't build, well, we build it different, but to the extent that it doesn't have a polling tower, but we do the same thing as you remember with the Skiff Challenge.
That's right.
My Skiff Challenge boat out there has gone through 4 Skiff Challenges.
That's
so
right.
Talk about beating yourself to death.
A lot of your competition was having to build a specific boat for that competition each year because the boat would be beat up so bad.
Some of them didn't. Several times people had to quit. No, they, you know, at one year, one competitor actually, the hull, they pulled it out. It was a crack in the hull, and somebody called Wendy, my wife, because you know everybody's watching this thing, and I'm certainly not. I can't answer my phone, and probably dead or cracked or been waterlogged at that point anyway. And they said, "What happened to that competitor's boat?" She said, "What did it hit?" She said, "I think too many waves."
I think too many waves.
You know, so ours just takes a lick and keeps on ticking. But again, it's not put together any differently. It's just, we've got to.
It's just the way the boats are made here.
Yeah. It's just,
and I think that's what everyone appreciates. That's what the owners group appreciates, the fact that they know the value of their boat will be every bit as high. There is no real depreciation. If there is, it's only the first few years and it flattens off and then it goes back up again just because.
And to the point, even with the Skiff Challenge boats, you realize that, when I was running it, I ran it with my son, and then when I won it the last time I won it.
Both boys were running it.
Yeah, Wendy asked me to get out and quit doing it, so I put my other son in, so that really made her mad. We had both sons running it, but a testament, you're running those things at night. I mean, the last time I ran it with JC, we second to last time, we came across from Apalachicola to Cedar Key in the middle of the night in 6 to 9 foot seas. And we're either too stupid to know any better, but you just go out into the abyss.
And that's a 16-foot boat.
Yeah.
With what horsepower on the back of it?
70.
A 70.
Like I said, I don't know how smart we are, but you know what?
We did. I
never got in it and thought, I wonder if we'll make it. I mean, I always knew we would.
Your insurance wasn't going to cover anything.
Yeah. No. Anyway,
I'm glad you brought the Skiff Challenge up because those were some incredible times. I think people really enjoyed that type of rally race, and I know you guys had a good competitor over there at Yellowfin. Heath was great for you guys. You guys were kind of like Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt there for a while,
Heath is as tough as they come, but to run the Skiff Challenge, at times you really have to know navigation, and I'll say blue water navigation.
That's right.
Not a lot of people have, or the ability to run boats, period, in huge seas.
That's right.
That's not a talent everybody has, and then to be able to run them like skiffs do and run them fast. A lot of things happen when you go too fast.
That's right.
Your reaction time and then when you're tired. But there's almost 2 skill sets from a skiff to offshore, and Heath has both of those, as well as JC and I and Jake, the 3 of us. So it's if somebody thinks they are a great skiff person, if they think they can run that, it's a different animal. It's a different animal. There's a lot of things that are going on, but you're putting you and the boats through a lot during that. And actually, we learned a lot about our boats early on in that. We would.
Oh, you guys had an amazing pit crew headed up by Dan Hunt. I mean, Dan the man. That guy. The way you guys would fill the fuel, the way you guys would change batteries out, lights out. And if there was an issue, there's no one you'd want to do it other than Dan Hunt. I mean, Dan was in service, so he's seen it all. He's now running production in the entire shop. So, Dan's come a long way, and he's been doing it a lot of years as well. We're all starting to been here a long time, but Dan is incredible, and we figured out ways to come into the dock and put in 22 gallons of gas, change the batteries, check the engine bolts, check the oil, and throw me and JC or Jake and JC a sandwich and be off the dock in 90 seconds, in and out of a
literally like a NASCAR pit stop. And so
Just crazy. There's a sign out there in the shop that says, "Do it the way Dan does the first time."
exactly,
That's
like, true.
I saw it, took a picture of it. I was like, that speaks volumes about.
Who do you think put that up?
The lead in there. Probably Dan.
Yeah, of course.
Probably Dan. He doesn't want to have to go back.
Yeah.
Now, you've had a lot of storied personalities that have been a part of the Hells Bay story over decades. I mean, Stu Apt and Flip Pallet, and you've got Chico Fernandez and Jose Wahebi. And I mean, a lot of the biggest names in fishing have come through Hells Bay.
C.A. Richards.
I'm still here. It's crazy how these legends of the game understood the quality that was here and how the boats were built and everything like that. And I can remember, not to dwell on it too hard, that you and I were fishing, doing an episode
In Louisiana.
in Louisiana.
I know where you're headed.
And we were out of cell phone range, and we'd been fishing all day long, and we just got back in close to Point LaHatch.
Close enough we could get data, but not a cell call yet.
And you were just looking at your phone, and you grabbed my arm, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And then you gave me the news.
Well, if you remember, actually, what happened was we finally got just within cell range, and my phone rings, and it's windy. And I knew something was weird because no one had really said on a text. I was getting these texts like, "Is it true? Is it that?" I'm like, "What's going on?" I was getting a ton of texts from kind of cryptic.
Yeah.
And then I got a phone call. We're running in from Wendy, and that's when I grabbed you. I said, "Shut it down, shut it down." And I was like, I knew something was like,
awry.
Something's going on. And Wendy calling me while I'm fishing with you, she's not going to do that. And that's when she gave us the word that Jose had passed in that plane crash.
Oh, that was brutal. That was brutal.
So,
that was some of the worst news I think I've ever heard out of our camp before.
Yeah.
And it really kind of changed the way our whole industry was there for a time. Not to say anyone is irreplaceable, because I know that's not true. That's in anything. But if you were going to say there's a personality that is irreplaceable in our genre, he would kind of be in that conversation almost every time.
But he was also at such...
He was at the pinnacle.
He was just still going up and so popular still, and very active in all of the media and everything else. So
everyone loved him. It wasn't just this narrow group that identified with him. It was guys in fly fishing. It was guys in blue water. It was guys in inshore. And then he was doing all the adventure stuff too.
Yep.
And that was when social media was just kind of getting off the ground, and he embraced it so hard.
I remember having several conversations like just that year prior. You're right. It was the infancy. It wasn't really some of the infancy of social media, but as a real platform where it was starting to gain. No, it wasn't just with college kids anymore.
Yeah.
You and I and other people, us older guys.
Yeah. It went from MySpace and Facebook was all of a sudden a thing, and I was like, I would sit and listen to things like, I was at a Raymarine thing, Jose Wahebi sitting right with me, and they're talking to us, and they're talking to us the importance of the posts and the content and the frequency, and most of our contemporaries are yep. They didn't see the value in it. But he listened, Jose listened intently. And then when there were times when we would go out to dinner and things like that, Larry Rankin was VP back then at Raymarine, and we would go out. I often would sit next to Jose because now I was a teammate with him at Raymarine and here.
And it helped that, yeah.
And I would listen to him, and he would always tell me, he goes, "Listen," he goes, "I'm going to give you a piece of advice." He goes, "You'll never take FlatsClass where you want it until you quit guiding." That's what he told me. He told me that. And as I've moved along through my career, I've realized that it has retarded my growth because I've not been able to go as far as I want to go because I've not wanted to give up my identity as a waterman.
I was about to ask you, but does it also keep you grounded or connected to what's really going on and what people care about? I mean, that's what's so important even at Hells Bay, that we stay connected and not think we know better. I'm constantly, and my team and And my son Jake is working with us here now, and with Al Keller and his years of experience.
Yeah,
but
Al Keller, Brett Martina. I mean,
you got to stay grounded and keep talking to these guys and understanding what we can do to be better. Even when you think you're really good, you can still be better. And I think from guiding you got to see it and feel it, and you know what's. The fish have changed in the last.
Yes, they have.
I mean,
they
so
have a lot
you know,
connected to the culture a lot more. But yes, I did. That was a piece of advice that he gave me, and I do realize how much time it takes to try to spread yourself thin. And he was the master at being able to do all of that. Flip Pallet, who I really love, he's always been a mentor, and his path was completely different. You know, and a lot of people will say, you know, you remind me sometimes of how Flip does things, but there is only one Flip Pallet. There is not another Flip Pallet. I would never even. I'll always be in that shadow there. But but some of these guys that have come through here, and a lot of them have gone on and moved on to other things, but they're the heavyweight names that are still in this business, and a lot of that started right here at Hells Bay Boatworks.
And you know, we've got I want to say new people. Some of them have been around a while.
Oh,
but some of the names you just named, like Brett Martina up at Apalachicola, he's becoming a legend into himself. But he's guiding every day, and he's just you're laughing because he's just one of those great personalities.
We filmed with him this year, and I'm going to tell you, when I say that he is the mayor of Apalachicola, there's not one soul, whether I stopped at a gas station, a coffee shop, a restaurant on the water that was an oyster bar, everybody is either related to him or his best friend. And he's just one of those personalities.
I used to see him when he was 18, 19 years old up there, and he was the same. He was the mayor of the social mayor of Apalachicola then. But I knew Brett when he was still in high school, before he was guiding, and he would call me about twice a week for about 45 minutes. And I'd sit in my office and just talk fishing and stuff with this high school kid from Apalachicola. But he's turning out to be one of the greats up there. So it's great. But we've got a whole. I just mentioned just him, but there's
Nick Sasek.
I can go on and on and on.
Like we were just talking about Dylan Mendoza, a young guide out there in Texas. He was fantastic for us. No, there are plenty of them that we have in the fold, and now as time has gone on, you know, advertising and getting behind certain personalities is more of a challenge because of the influencer game and how you have to draw allies with certain groups, and a lot of that has to do with sponsorship and things like that, and even that has changed so much in fishing that there's only a few guys in the game now that big companies want to have partnerships with, because now they have all this in-brand stuff that they do on their own. They have their own film guys. They do with their own personalities. They hire people to do this stuff, and they shoot these films. And do they need that pro the way they did before? They have to use them in a different way, and that's how they have to.
There's so much information out there now that is so easily accessible. You know, 20 years ago, you had to call a company up and they had to send you a brochure.
That's
before
right.
There was really the internet was worth anything, and wasn't a lot of information out there. And so, you know, you had to know the company to call them. You can Google search so many things and find so much information. And then, like you're talking about, you go to YouTube. I think I can go to YouTube and learn to do anything.
I am confident you can, because there's so much that I learn. In fact, I do so much on YouTube now for us personally, for the brand, that I realize what a daily engagement tool it is with the audience. We're television, by far and away. My son shoots everything that we do. It is so polished and so perfect and looks great. And we have this audience that's all they want to see. But there is some of that audience and other audiences that all they want to know is how I'm doing it, what tackle I'm using.
Yep.
And they learn that on YouTube, because it's not so much a story, it's more of a recipe. It's like,
it's a FlatsClass.
I'm giving them the recipe.
You know, it's a class. It's just like, I fix my own cars a lot of times, and you'll go to YouTube and the guy tells you, using a number 10, and he's got my car with bolts in the right place, and I know to go this way and not this way to get to it, and wow, I can fix something that normally I'd have to take to a mechanic that I had no, it's all right there on YouTube today, and if I want to go red fishing in someplace, close to where you're going in Louisiana, there's several people, including yourself, talking about the fishery, what works, what doesn't work.
That's right.
Because what works here doesn't work in the Florida Keys, doesn't work in Naples, doesn't work in, up here in Mosquito Lagoon, but it works there. So you can get that information very specific, which you couldn't get in the past. So it's all there to be seen now. So
what I've always appreciated about Hells Bay is you guys have been uncompromising on the way you build the boats.
Mm-hmm.
So you use a standard of material that will last.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't build things to a point where you think, well, we got to save 40 pounds here. But by saving 40 pounds here, you end up with all these other invisible problems that come up later on. Well, this is spider cracking now, or the boat's making more noise now, or the boat now is so trim sensitive that now it's hard to draw. You guys have figured out the magic number on how to build these things, what the setup is and everything like that. And you guys stay true to that. And
we do, but we're always looking for the
innovation.
Cutting edge, and I do that through some of our suppliers. We've got, particularly with our composite supplier, they've got unbelievable resources that we tap into, and often I'm asking that question, what's coming up? It has to be proven.
Yeah.
But it can't be something that's, we think this is going to work.
That's right.
What's out there? I'm looking at other industries.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this working? For instance, the outside skin of our outside portion of our boat now came out of the production of the Boeing Dreamliner.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we do it, and then we innovated with a certain resin that actually works even better. That was in one of our Skiff Challenge boats. That was the one thing we kind of did different. We thought it was proven, and if it would last the Skiff Challenge, we then immediately moved that resin into all of our production. So we knew it wasn't going to spider crack, because we would have spider cracked it and beat it up, and it would have fallen apart if we did. But I wasn't putting it in there thinking it was going to.
That's right.
That it might be a chance. But we were, and again, the resin we use has been proven. It comes from England, and it's used in the production of minesweepers. So
really,
yeah, that was what it was designed for. So you take that technology along with the Boeing, fabrics and stuff, some of the carbon fibers and stuff that they were using at Boeing in the fuselage of the Dreamliner. And we combined those, and we actually came up with even a better product,
mm-hmm.
Lighter, stronger, higher modulus. It can take a beating and come back without fracturing, which is what has to happen with some of the properties that are there with the minesweepers. So we take a technology which flats boats haven't been built like minesweepers or the Boeing Dreamliner.
That's right.
But we're constantly innovating that way. To make it even better, lighter, stronger, better every time we can. So,
if I were going to ask you what I believe, and I don't even know if it's true, but I believe that the Marquesa and the Professional are kind of your meat and potatoes boats here. They carry the water. They seem to be the most popular models. Mm-hmm. But what boat model has surprised you the most? Because there's a couple of them that come to mind as far as this thing's getting traction, and this boat not only sells well, but it performs really well. Because I know a lot of the boats are built specifically.
You talked about the Professional, mm-hmm. and overall, I really like that boat myself. Does it carry a big heavy sea like one of our V-hulls, like the Biscayne or the Marathon or the Marquesa? No. But it will float shallower. Every boat does something, but that Professional is a great little niche for the way I fish.
Yes.
And I'm here again, middle of the East Coast of Central Florida, and Mosquito Lagoon is where I cut my teeth actually flats fishing, which has got some very, very skinny water.
Yes.
But if I was somewhere else, Naples, the Keys, the Marquesa would be maybe what I would want more than a professional.
Right.
You talk about some of our customers having multiple boats. Sometimes they have them at the same time.
Yes.
You know, they'll have a Marquesa and a professional, or a
I know.
professional and a marathon, or and a
I see it-
stero
I
and
see
a
it
something
often.
else. Because there's things you can do in one boat or the other that's they're different, and that's why we have so many models. Because people fish, even flats fish, differently in different estuaries, that we've got so many models that are between 16 and 18 feet. And then we've got the Estero, which is 24 feet, which is, just as, it fishes pretty darn shallow. If you don't load the live well up in the back, you can fish in 11 inches of water with a 24-foot bay boat with a 15-degree dead rise in it.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
One day I was fishing the Herman Lucerne tournament with Chico Fernandez and I, and a plane was buzzing around us up top, kind of circling around. And I know one of the rangers very well over there. And when I got back that night, he was at the tournament get-together, and I said, I didn't know, did you have a spotter plane up today? He says, oh yeah. He said, they saw you. I said, how do you know it was me? He says, they called you in. I said, what do you mean? He says, you guys were way up on snakebite. I said, yeah. And he said, they called you in, they thought that boat that big was grounded up there. And they were coming in, they were calling in the guys to come and pull us off and fine us, basically. Yeah. And he said, well, he knew I was there. And he knew the Estero was there. And he asked him, he said, is the engine up out of the, is it, he said, and spotter's plane says, yes. He says, the trolling motor down? He says, yes. He says, I know who it is. Yes, that's one boat that will float there, and just leave them alone, they're fine. And about that time, Chico caught this massive snook up on snakebite about that same time. So that's just to say, even though it's a big 24-foot bay boat, there are a lot of great places it can go. You don't pole it. It's definitely a trolling boat, not a poling skiff. So
for sure.
It's got a whole different animal there. But we've got a whole bunch of other boats that just kind of, what surprises me? How skinny the Marathon goes, even though it's got a V hull on it.
I was amazed by that.
It's a super.
I was amazed by the ride in that boat.
It's a great ride, and you can go really fast. It holds the water. It doesn't get shine walking.
It doesn't walk.
For like a tournament boat, for a tarpon tournament.
Yeah.
It can get skinny, and it just cuts the chop if you've got any. So it's a
Captain
cool boat
Dave
too.
Dankert thinks that the Marquesa is the best 18-foot boat he's ever been in his life.
He's never been in a marathon,
but he hasn't been in the
it's
marathon.
got its ebb and flow. It's a little bigger.
Martino would tell you the best boat, because he'll call me up. He'll go, hey, calling you, old man, just let you know, if you get one of these marathons, it will extend your career. That's my best Martino impression. But he tells me that all the time.
But they fish differently.
Yeah.
And for instance, Dankert's probably he takes a lot of people, but he needs it when he's got a couple of either big guys or a little family on there.
It's blowing.
And it's blowing.
He doesn't cancel trips because of wind.
No.
He goes, I got a Marquesa, I don't cancel because of wind.
Yeah.
He's also got a professional. And Chico Fernandez has told me on a number of occasions, he goes, the professional is the best boat. It has the best geometry. For its length and its width, it poles nice and clean and straight. It's easy still to spin. He goes, of all the boats, I think that boat is for pure flat swim.
Different professionals,
They're
people
all,
who know what they're doing, all have their opinion, but it's because they fish different ways in different estuaries, and probably for Dave Dankert and for Brett and for Chico and their differences in their opinion. It's just the differences in the way they fish, and it probably is the best boat for them.
Or the area that they're in.
Right.
I'm always impressed with the Waterman. The Waterman still impresses me. I know it's not the boat I would want in a real rough sea or anything like that, but when I'm in super skinny water, it's just amazing how little water it needs to move around, get up and down. It's a pretty good utility boat. But the boat that I like to play with the most when it's cold and we're in the back of creeks and the creeks are real narrow and you got to be able to spin and get in and out of the creeks and around tight turns is the Eldora.
I know.
The Eldora is just one of those boats. It's like, gosh, you feel like you're 12 years old again. You're exploring. You can go. I go all the way through the marsh into the woods with it. It's just crazy, and I can launch it anywhere.
And it doesn't take much power, which is why you can keep it so skinny. It's a light engine, and it's designed, in my opinion, to be a skiff.
Yeah.
And a skiff to me means a simple boat, not a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I tell people the Eldora has everything you need to fish
Yeah,
and nothing you don't.
that's right.
So like
It's
you
true.
said, it's like you're still a kid, you put your tackle box in there or whatever, and it's just got
Yep.
everything you
bring,
need
You just bring
and
what you
nothing
need.
you don't.
You know, I bring a Yeti chair in there. I've just got a trailhead chair in there, and 10 gallons of fuel, 3 or 4 fishing rods, and a Busby bag with enough baits to get us through the day, and we're good.
And when you come home, it's just grab a couple rods,
Oh.
1 or 2 things, give it a quick squirt, and you're done.
Yeah, you got to
Go home, have your cocktail or whatever,
You got
and
a
you're done
Magic
for the day.
Racer and a water hose. You're done in 10 minutes. You're
Yeah.
drinking Papa's Pilar.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well, speaking of, you know, why I'm really here today, other than to interview you.
You coming to get some of my rye that Papa's Pilar sent
Oh,
me?
well, if you want to throw that in the deal, that's fine. But I really want to show everybody what's outside, which is going to be the new FlatsClass Professional for this season. So we want to show that off. So I want you to walk them through it, show us what we've done with this boat. We did some things different. I think it'd be a really cool way to reveal that boat to everyone, because the colors are very reminiscent of the old Spanish fly colors. Remember Jose's colors? They're pretty close.
Yeah. You know, Jose always liked those colors because, and for you being a filming guy, he swears that those colors just presented the best all around on the flats for amount of sun coming off and the other colors. So yeah, he had some very specific grays and blues that he always did, and so we're going to see that.
We're going to see that in this boat, and just kind of the way the boat's laid out and some of the accessories that have been put on it. So we'll go out there and talk about that next.
All right.
Let's go.
Thank you. All right.
Wow, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You guys did a wonderful job. I mean, everything from the seats to the blue looks even different on this boat than it does on the white hulls with the white rub rail, with the black rub rail and the darker.
Dark hull. And things, you know, things that different color combinations do kind of make things look a little different from time
And I
to
do
time.
know I spec'd this boat out, and honestly, you know, Yamaha's been a great partner for the show now. And for me though, if you own a 17-foot boat, it's almost impossible not to want a Yamaha 70 on there. The power to weight ratio on that is unbelievable. This year, I ended up going with a Bob's Machine Shop jack plate. It's just, it behaves to me more intuitively. It's faster, gives you 2 inches more lift, that much quicker. Went back to my Pro Series 2. A lot of people said, why didn't you put the blade on it? I was like, this one weighs less. That's all. I mean, I'm trying to stay as light as I can.
Right.
I did go with the sissy bar again.
I've always hated that term. I mean, they call it a sissy bar. You got the tubes for that, and the sissy bar is over here.
Yeah.
I always thought that option ought to be called like the sportsman stabilization bar instead of the sissy bar, but that's what we call it.
Well, you know, for me, I like it for a number of reasons. I don't feel like I really need it in the fashion that you would assume that you need it. I like to keep it in front of me, but it does make a nice utility bar for YouTube. Climbing up, swinging up and down real fast is super nice with it for me.
But you know, the step makes that a lot easier than a lot of steps, because the seat back with the step, and as you go from the step up, it's more natural than trying to climb up the side of a tower. You know,
and you know, I'm so long-legged, I usually just stake the pole out and walk up that thing really quick. But I do love. After I had the sissy bar a few years ago, I was like, I'm not, especially during tarpon season, I'm never going back. So, back of the boat looks really clean. Some of these hatches, I kept really clean. I actually did something on your recommendation, because everyone knows I don't really swing live bait, is I'm using that as a storage compartment, that live well section now. So now my battery charger and my lithium for the power pole move is right there, which gives me a lot more room in my rear compartments, and I don't have the weight up front at all. It's pretty nice, because shooting YouTube, I'm on the front of this boat a lot now.
That's true.
Which I like.
Plus, if you're not taking live bait, then you don't have to at all.
It ends up being a trash locker,
now,
more or less.
You know.
I had my guys spec this thing out for the aqua traction, but we haven't put that on yet. That's coming.
It just got done, and they come in. You know, the aqua traction scans it, and then they send it out, and then they come and install it. But it's scanned for your boat.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're just picking it up. Normally, aqua traction is the boat's got to be finished because it's going to be right. You know, the cushions. Sometimes, you know, little things will be slightly different, but you want that aqua traction to be just perfect, and they will make it that way.
All right, let's talk about the helm next. There's a few differences compared to what I've had in the past. I ended up getting the Sirius XM weather
and
antenna.
that's so nice to have on there, to be able to kind of see what's going on out there. And it's coming in through satellite, so if you're into some, you know, a lot of times I do it on my phone, but I can't get it to load when you're on the fringes.
That's
so
right.
that'll always be there.
And it gives you a much better idea of what wind's doing and what wind's coming, which in a little boat, that's pretty dang helpful. So got the Sirius XM. Went with the grab bar again. I love the grab bar.
Grab bar is great for a lot of things. Getting around it, just riding, getting in and out of the boat. I mean, as you go from the trailer up, I use that grab bar just like that, in and out of the trailer all the time.
And again, I charge a lot of GoPro cameras and things like that, or I clip them here and I can run the cord and put them right here in this charger here. It's got all my USB stuff.
It's got a USB-C and a regular USB in there, fast charge on that, so that's really cool.
You know, a couple of years ago when there were all kinds of things going on during the COVID era, Jake talked me into these toggle switches versus the old, the Bennett style things. And I called him back after I used them. I was like, every boat I ever have in the future, I want toggle switches, because I feel like I have a little bit more faster reaction time with these things, and I can adjust them a little bit more in tune based on who's sitting next to me and what. So I've really, really liked.
And quite frankly, the trim tabs and all are great, and they really work well. It's those switches and the ones that come with it. These are just simple military grade switches. They're just momentary on and off. And they do the job better, and they're extremely reliable. So that's why we use those and recommend those. And
then I've got the fob on the charger right here for power pole, which is awesome. Got my Hells Bay plate. I see where you left off my jet ski depth charges.
Well, how about the client ejection button?
And the client ejection
There's some of those guys you just want to just...
We do need to add that in here, just for future stuff.
Sure, sure.
But you guys did a fantastic job, and then my Raymarine, I went back to my Axiom Pro hybrid here, which is great. I see the power's on, pump this thing up.
And you know, the great service we get from Raymarine, the Raymarine guys were already in here doing updates to it last week. So, you know, that thing is totally updated. And they do that for regular customers too, not just UCA. You're not special that way.
It's even got your brand on there.
Of course we do.
Al sent me a thing where it showed my YouTube channel on the thing. He goes like this, he goes, I'm learning how to fish.
Was he sitting in?
He was sitting here watching YouTube on my Raymarine. So it shows you the multimedia access. Let's walk up to the front and look at the move.
Sure.
And what I consider the thing that's turned into my favorite accessory here in the last 2 years, the Power Pole Move PV. This thing is amazing. And this year I went with black and a 52-inch shaft versus the shorter 45. I do like the 45 because I feel like it fits inside the boat a little bit better. But I can tell you this 52 comes in pretty handy when you start getting out there in tarpon country and those waves are throwing you up and down. You put this thing down, you do not worry about a thing.
The strength of that motor pulling this boat around, I mean, you could probably almost take a small kid tubing behind this thing.
You really could. And I was out this weekend in my current skiff, and we were moving through some backcountry, like Kissimmee looking grass and zones in there, and she's like, well, we can't get back in there. I go, oh yeah, we can. And we went right in there with the trolling motor. So
but I mean, it's got the titanium shaft. I mean, this thing is built like a battle tank. It's just unbelievable. And how quiet that stepper motor is when it's turning. It's just smooth as silk and super quiet.
It is billed as the greatest trolling motor on the planet Earth. And trust me,
It probably is.
it probably is. The Ramblin' trailer, which never lets you down. It always looks great, performs awesome. I mean, and they're built for these boats.
Well, they're built for these boats. Each trailer is built exactly for our hull. I mean, so this is a professional trailer, and the way the bunks and all fit our hull, you know.
They watch me come in up at a ramp, and I'm on the trailer in 2 seconds, jump off this boat, get in my truck and drive away, and they're like, well, not your first time, huh? I go, they make the trailer, so that's
I tell
perfect.
you, that's true though. I mean, you know, you're never going to be on a YouTube video at the ramp where you're really messing up with with this trailer. It grabs it and you get right on, and you don't have to be a professional.
That's right.
To do that, anybody does. It makes you look good. My biggest problem with these trailers ever is the fact that they trail so well. Sometimes if I'm not paying attention and I'm zoning out going down the road,
You don't even know what's behind you.
yeah, and sometimes I want to get over, and I'm thinking that skeg might be taking some paint off the cars behind me's hoods, you know. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's there. So no, they're super smooth. You know, and the I-beams and are all anodized. Most of our cross supports in here are all stainless steel. You don't see that in many trailers. And again, the level of detail we put in the boats, Ramblin, with our specifications, puts it into our trailers.
And the power pucks, is that not the cleanest?
That's super clean.
Cord, no nothing.
And it slides on and off really easy for moving
right on it. You can move this trolling motor from one boat to another boat, no problem. That power puck's keeping all the connections under.
Or some of those shady hotels you stay on, you can at least put it in your room with you.
That's right. You don't have you don't have to leave it out there. That's for sure.
That's right.
No, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Your team always does a phenomenal job of putting these together. They really, really do. It looks sharp. We can't wait to get it out there on actually season 19 next year.
That's 19.
Yeah. You might actually get this boat actually at the end of this season, because we have one more show that we can shoot out of this boat. So
all right, well,
probably gonna get it in here on the tail end. Well, I can't thank you enough, not only for your friendship, but for what a great business partner you have been for FlatsClass over all these years. We've made a lot of memories in these Hells Bay boats, and a lot of great television. And I look forward to
and a good time.
And it's been
you
a
and your
good
wife
time.
and
it's been a good time.
Family are out on this thing, and you see you on social media doing that too. So
that's right. So I mean, I've really loved my time in these boats, and this one's just going to be one more chapter in the book.
Yeah, it will be.
All
good
right,
deal.
friend.
Thank you, buddy.
We're going to get on the road.
Sure enough.